the age of 34, frankly, I don't know what you were thinking. You know, following a guy who only won 4 Super Bowls, so if you don't win 4, you're not going to live up to that. Back to your hometown to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, you had to be nuts to take that job.
No, I think it was, you talk about, I wasn't sure if I was real when he offered me the job.
34 years old, you're a baby.
And Mr. Rooney offered me the job. I said, do you want to be the next coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? I go, yes. And I said, he goes, congratulations. And I just thought, wow. He goes, by the way, do you want to know what we're going to pay you? I go, oh yeah, like what is it? And
you're a lousy negotiator. You're a better coach than you are a negotiator.
But it was amazing because I remember my first thought was, it was in 1992. I graduated from Carleton High School in Pittsburgh in 1975. And my first thought was, wow, I can go back to my 20th class reunion as a head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If I don't screw this up, if I can make 3 years, in 3 years, if I can just do this for a good.
And find that girl you couldn't get a date with and ask her now what she thinks.
It was pretty surreal. My parents were back there. My brothers were back there.
Was it intimidating following Chuck Noll, though? Was there a part of you that was concerned about that aspect of it?
No, it really wasn't. You know, Chuck was a great coach, but there was a team, really, quite honestly, if you go back and look at it, they'd been to the playoffs one time in the previous 6 years. But the one thing I liked about following him is that, God, he instilled some great work ethics in everybody that was there. But I think I was just so enamored with everything else, and I was kind of overwhelmed with the whole concept of being a head coach and having to hire a coaching staff, having to hire, you know, the secretary stepped down when Chuck stepped down, so I had to interview secretaries. So I'm like, it was a little overwhelming at first. It really was. I mean, it was, you know, I wanted to be involved with the personnel part of it, so I hired Dom Capers, and I remember telling Dom Capers, and my first staff about Dom Capers as my coordinator. Marvin Lewis I took from Pitt, and he made him my linebacker coach, and he's a year younger than me. I had Steve Furness as defensive line. He had Steeler ties. Dick LeBeau coached my secondary. And Billy Davis, who's now is in Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator, he was my quality control coach. And then I went out and got Ron Earhart from the Giants because I wanted to stall a running game. And so it was a really interesting time, and trying to put so much in, trying to understand, as I try to tell young coaches, understand the dynamics of the building, how it worked. Because the Pittsburgh way, I always kept hearing about, we're going to do it our way. And I was trying to figure out what our way was for a long time. And I just realized it just, you know, it was a special place. A tremendous amount of growth happened for me. And Dan Rooney was, I've always said he was like a father. He was a boss. He was a friend. You know, he was all those things to me in my 15 years.
Here you have this great, epically successful franchise, and it still has the feel of a mom and pop store.
It is.
It's so rare in sports now, Bill. I mean, what is it about that culture and that family that it just worked?
You know,
Still working.
It still works, and you know, you go back there and nothing will change. You know, nothing's changed. You see the same secretaries, you see the same people in the same places. You know, he's got a few modifications. Man, they've cleaned up a few rooms, but it's still the same way. And he still walks around. Art now he's kind of taken over a lot of the responsibilities, but you know, it's a family-run place. And when you walk in there, there's this great sense of tradition, a great sense of pride, and a great sense of family. You know, it's one of the unique places where, you know, regardless of whether anybody's doing anything, when you walk out of a room, it's a Steeler decision. And people always wonder how it works behind the closed door. What happens if you get into a disagreement? You know, in the 15 years I was there, all Mr. Rooney would say, then you guys need to work that out. So we got to come to some kind of agreement before we leave here. So it wasn't like it's in my contract, it's this in my contract I see today. It's amazing to me there weren't more problems and more, you know, roadblocks when it came to decision making in the time I was there than there was, because I think it was everyone's respect for Mr. Rooney and for Art. That, you know what, we're going to do this and we're going to make it work because it is our way. It's not about anybody else's responsibility.